The silk robe sticks slightly to your back because it's warm inside the room, and the air is heavy with the smell of plum wine, old wood, and soft incense drifting in slow lines near the ceiling. You hear him breathing behind you. His breath smells like sour sake and meat. It's the kind of breath you can feel before you actually smell it. You know the size of the room without turning around. You memorized it earlier. 2 paces from the low table to the screen, 3 paces from the table to the door, 4 paces to the window. You always count the steps. It's how you stay calm. Inside your sleeve is a small blade, flat and cool against your skin. It's tied to a loop of thread you can snap with the side of your thumb. There's also a tiny packet of powder that burns the eyes and nose when it touches air. You aren't planning to use the powder unless things go wrong. You hope they don't go wrong tonight. You want this job to be smooth, quiet, and quick. He laughs behind you. It's a loose, heavy laugh. You smile because smiling is part of the job, not because the laugh is funny. You pour him another small cup of sake with hands that look gentle, hands that move slowly and calmly, even though you are already planning what to do if he stands up too fast or if he gets suspicious. You put the cup down in front of him with a small tilt of your wrist. You place 3 tiny grains of aconite on the rim earlier, too small to change the taste, just enough to make his limbs heavy, his thoughts slow, and his body weak. You don't need him dead. You just need him tired so he won't resist when things begin to shift in your favour. The bell outside rings the hour. It's a simple sound, but you use it like a starting point. When the bell rings, you know patrols outside are shifting, guards are talking, and the building around you follows its normal rhythm. Normal rhythm is safer than abnormal rhythm. He lifts his cup. His hand shakes slightly, not from fear, but from drink. He smiles at you with the confidence of a man who thinks he's in control. You lower your eyes the way men expect women to lower their eyes. It makes him feel powerful. It makes him comfortable. Comfortable men talk too much. Comfortable men miss important details. Comfortable men never notice the exit you're facing with your back foot. He drinks. The aconite touches his tongue. You watch the moment it reaches his stomach by the way his shoulders drop a little. It's subtle, but you've seen it many times. You smile again, soft and slow. You lean forward enough that he feels special, but not enough that he can reach you without moving. You count his breaths in your head. 1, 2, 3. He talks about something you don't care about. Land, taxes, arrival, a woman he thinks wronged him. You nod at the right times. You laugh when he pauses for a laugh. Your mind is somewhere else tracking the room. The candle is burning unevenly. The screen has a small tear near the bottom from a sandal. Dust sits under the table leg where servants didn't clean well. All these tiny details settle into your mind like stones into a bowl. Your hand drifts toward the sleeve seam where the blade is hidden. Not to draw it, just to feel it. To remind yourself it's there. To steady your thoughts. The poison begins its quiet work. His eyelids get heavier. His mouth slows. His sentences drift. His shoulders sag an inch further. You keep pouring drinks he doesn't need. You pour very little into the cups. You spill most into your own sleeve when he isn't looking. You guide him gently toward the futon like you're helping a tired child. You do not let him lean fully on you. If he leans fully on you, you lose balance. Balance is everything. When he finally collapses onto the futon, his body sinks into the blanket without strength. His hand reaches up slow and clumsy. You give him a polite smile, not a warm one, and shift your body just enough that his hand falls into empty air. The room quiets. His breathing slows. His eyelids fall shut. You watch the pulse at his neck. It beats a little too slow now. The poison is working the way you expected. You move to the window and lift the paper curtain a finger's width. The alley is empty. The night air is cold. You breathe it in to clear your head. You return to the futon and check his wrist. The pulse is steady but weak. Good. You only needed him slow. You clean the cups carefully, wiping the edges with a cloth soaked in vinegar. You remove the powder's trace from your sleeve. You leave the room exactly the way you found it, with every object returned to its original place. Before leaving, you glance once more at the man on the futon. His mouth is slightly open. His chest rises and falls in slow, even breaths. He looks harmless. He isn't harmless, but he is helpless tonight. You slide the door open a finger's width, step out, and close it behind you without a sound. Then you walk down the hallway with the same quiet, steady steps as any other servant. No one sees you. No one remembers you. That is the point. You disappear the way a shadow moves when the light changes. Before we go any further, make sure to subscribe for more in-depth and real historical stories, and leave a comment on what topic you want us to cover next. Now, without further ado, let's begin. People love to imagine ninjas as shadows jumping across roofs, throwing stars through the air, flipping through smoke. Those stories make everything dramatic. They also make everything wrong. What you are is something much simpler and much harder to respect. You are a worker. You're someone who learns routines, observes silently, waits patiently, and stays unnoticed for hours at a time until the moment you need to act. Your life isn't spinning through the air. Your life is long hours of stillness and careful thinking. The old manuals, the Bansen Shukai from Iga and the Shoninki from Ki, are honest about this. They speak in calm, practical sentences as if they were explaining farming, not danger. They tell you to watch first, act later. They tell you to study people, not just weapons. They tell you to let other people underestimate you and to never correct them. They teach you not to get proud. Pride makes you act too fast. Fast people get caught. They also tell you something most legends ignore. Being a woman can hide you better than any black clothing ever will. Men overlook women. They talk around them. They assume women have nothing to do with politics or maps or messages. That assumption is the empty space you slip into. You learn early that your job is built on two things: patience and attention. Not strength, not speed, not magic. If someone wrote a story about you, they would skip the boring parts. But the boring parts are most of your actual life. They are the foundation that holds everything up. You spend hours sitting in corners pretending to sew while memorizing the patterns of footsteps in the next room. You spend days selling noodles in a street stall just to learn which guards take which lunch breaks. You spend nights listening through thin walls to people who think no one can hear them. People think danger is exciting. It isn't. Danger is something you avoid by knowing a room better than anyone else in it. You don't fight if you can help it. Fighting means someone saw you. You don't chase. You let people reveal themselves slowly. You don't show skill. Showing skill ruins the disguise. You leave glory to men who want glory. You choose safety, quiet, and practical success. Glory cannot be eaten. Glory cannot keep you from dying. Your tools aren't exotic. They're simple and ugly. Ash, rope, needles, combs, loose seams, powder, cloth soaked in vinegar. You don't carry swords unless you must. Swords are heavy and draw attention. Your disguises aren't dramatic costumes. They are everyday outfits people see 1,000 times a day. Tea-girl, vendor, widow, mourner, servant, pilgrim. You become background. Background is safety. People imagine ninjas working alone. but you belong to busy families and clans filled with workers, messengers, carriers, watchers, cooks, cleaners, scribes, and handlers. Everyone has a job, and your job is only one branch of a much larger tree. Your world is not quiet on the outside. War, famine, hunger, disease, and politics move like storms across the land. You walk through those storms every day pretending to be unaffected. That's the work. You were not chosen because you are special. You were shaped because you survived and because your temperament was useful. Your teachers saw the way you stayed calm under pressure. They saw how you watched quietly before acting. They saw how you moved your hands steadily even when you were tired. Those traits matter more than anything else. You don't dream of being remembered. You don't expect thanks. You don't expect comfort. Your expectations are small rice, warmth, survival. Everything else is luxury. You are not born into comfort. Most people weren't. Your first memories aren't of toys or warm blankets. Your first memories are of cold air slipping under poorly fitted doors, of the sound of rain hitting thin roof tiles, and of the way smoke from the stove drifted sideways instead of straight up. You grew up on packed dirt floors that stayed cold even in spring. Straw and cloth were laid down to soften the ground, but the cold always found a way through. At night, the floor's chill climbed through blankets and into your bones. You learned to curl tightly so your body heated itself faster. Your mother was tired before you were born and tired after. She cooked on a clay stove that smoked constantly, coughing as she stirred watery millet. Her fingertips were cracked from washing clothes in cold river water. Her back was bent from carrying too much and resting too little. She cared for you, but care in your world was not soft. It was practical, steady, and necessary. Your father, if he was present, worked fields, chopped wood, or took odd jobs. Men in villages came and went depending on season, war, taxes, and fortune. Women stayed because they had to. From the day you arrived, people evaluated your existence by cost. A boy meant future labour. A girl meant future marriage negotiations, extra mouths, extra risk. It wasn't that people were cruel because they wanted to be. It was because life didn't give them space to be anything else. You learned this early. When you cried too loudly, someone hushed you with a stern finger. When you reached for something you weren't supposed to touch, a hand gently pulled yours away. When you stumbled, someone checked to see if you were hurt, but only for a moment, because there was always more work waiting. You learned patience before you learned words. You learned observation before you learned how to hold chopsticks. You learned silence because silence kept adults calm. These were not lessons anyone taught you on purpose. Your home environment taught them without speaking. The countryside around you had the kind of quiet that isn't peaceful. It's just empty. Fields spread out under cloudy skies, trees bent in wind, insects buzzed near puddles, chickens scratched dust near doorways. Life was work, and work never stopped. Your hands were small, but chores did not wait for size. You fetched water in tiny buckets that splashed and soaked your sleeves. You swept floors with a broom taller than you. You picked stones out of rice. You shelled nuts, peeled roots, washed cloth. Each chore built stamina. Each task built steady hands. Each day taught you that life moved only if you moved with it. Your body toughened from labour, not training. Your fingers developed a grip from carrying water, not weapons. Your back learned endurance from bending over wash basins, not martial forms. These ordinary hardships later became the foundation of your survival. When older children teased you, you didn't fight back. You watched. You studied how their moods changed, how they acted before they struck, how they got bored and stopped. You learned early that understanding people was more useful than confronting them. When adults whispered, You listened. Not because you were curious, but because listening helped you understand the rhythm of your household. Who had power, who was angry, who was tired, who was struggling. That rhythm would later guide your missions more reliably than any weapon. Food shaped your understanding of scarcity. Rice was rationed, vegetables were shared, meat was rare. When there was extra, no one celebrated loudly. They simply ate quietly and thanked the moment. Your mother sometimes hid a small bit of sweet bean paste and saved it for you. You didn't know until later that this meant she skipped her own portion. That taste of sweetness stayed in your memory like a warm light. Cold shaped your tolerance. In winter, your breath fogged inside the house. You woke with stiff fingers. You slept in layers of worn cloth. You learned to layer clothing in ways that trapped heat. You learned to breathe slowly so cold air hurt less. Pain shaped your reaction to emergencies. Burns from the stove taught you to move your hand fast and trust your reflexes. Scrapes from falling outdoors taught you not to cry unless it was serious. Sore muscles taught you what your limits were. When you were 4 or 5, someone may have commented on how quiet you were, how steady your hands were when carrying water, or how you listened more than you spoke. Adults notice these things. These traits made you both valuable and vulnerable. By the time you reached 7, villagers stopped calling you a child and started expecting real contribution. 7 is when work becomes work. You carried heavier buckets. You washed more clothes. You cooked simple meals. You absorbed everything around you. Voices, footsteps, arguments, quiet worries hidden in tone. You paid attention to details not because you wanted to, but because life required it. You learned patterns. Which neighbour fed their dog first? Which day the market was busiest? Which households fought often? Which ones stayed quiet? No one told you these details mattered. They simply stayed in your mind. Later they became survival tools. You began running errands between homes. Borrow this, return that, deliver this message. These errands taught you paths, distances, shortcuts. They taught you which floors creaked, which bridges wobbled, which alleys smelled of danger. You were observant because observation was easier than talking. Some evenings your mother sat quietly, massaging her legs after a long day. You lay beside her, mimicking her breathing without realizing it. This became the first breathing practice you would ever learn. Slow, steady, calming. Your father, if present, watched the roof during storms. He could tell by the sound of rain whether repairs were needed. You listened with him. You learned how sound travels through wood. That lesson would return later when you needed to walk quietly. The adults around you didn't know they were training a future operative. They were simply surviving. You learned survival by copying them. Your childhood was not soft, but it was formative. Every bruise, every chore, every winter night built the person you needed to be later. Patient, observant, steady, quiet. You didn't know it at the time, but the world was shaping you long before any clan or handler laid eyes on you. The moment your potential was noticed wasn't dramatic. It wasn't marked by a ceremony or a test. It was something quiet, someone observing you at the right moment. Maybe it was when you carried a pot of water across uneven ground without spilling it. Maybe it was when you noticed a stranger on the road before anyone else did. Maybe it was when you stayed calm during a storm, while other children panicked. Children with steady nerves stand out in a world built on fear. A travelling uncle, not really related but respected, visited your home. Men like him came and went, bringing goods, repairs, gossip and quiet assessments. He watched how you moved. He watched how you responded to small surprises, a loud sound, a sudden request, a stumble. He gave you a small egg and told you to carry it to the river and back without breaking it. You didn't think it was a test. It felt like a chore. You walked carefully. The egg broke. He didn't scold you. He simply gave you another. The second time you learned to slow down. The third time you learned to relax your grip. The fourth time you made it to the river and back with the egg intact. This taught 2 lessons. You responded well to failure. You improved quickly without complaint. Adults noticed. Adults talked quietly among themselves. One day your mother asked you to deliver a sealed note to a woman with soft hands and expensive sandals. You didn't know the meaning of the note, but after delivering it, your family had meat in the soup for the first time in the weeks. That meat meant the note was worth something. You began running more errands. Some were innocent. Some were disguised tests. You passed them because you didn't know they were tests. That innocence made you trustworthy. Your life didn't change suddenly. It shifted gradually. More errands, more observations, more small moments that seemed random but weren't. You weren't chosen because of talent alone. You were chosen because of temperament, the way you learned naturally from the world without needing instruction. Everything you picked up in these early years, quiet hands, sharp eyes, steady breathing, tolerance for cold, patience, the ability to blend in, all of it became the foundation of your adult life. Before you ever set foot in training, the hills, the home, and the hardships already molded you. The first stage of training is not dramatic. There are no jumps, no swords, no exciting techniques. Training begins with something that looks boring to everyone, except the people who understand how survival truly works. It begins with stillness, posture, breath, and the ability to disappear without actually going anywhere. You are brought to a place that does not look special. The floors are clean but not polished. The walls are plain. The air smells like wood, earth, and cooked rice. It looks like a farm or a boarding house, not a secret school. That is intentional. Everything here is designed to blend in with the world outside so that the training fits into daily life, rather than standing apart from it. On the first day, no one gives you a weapon. No one gives you instructions. You sit on a mat along a wall with several other girls. You sit quietly. You wait. You learn patience by noticing that impatience is useless. There is nothing to rush. No one will explain anything until they see how you behave without direction. Eventually an older woman enters. She does not have the aura of a fearsome teacher. She looks calm, tired, experienced. She studies all of you without speaking. She walks slowly, checking posture, clothing, hands, feet, and faces. She notices everything because she has spent her life noticing everything. Her eyes stop on you for a moment. She nods, almost unnoticeably. Then she begins. The first lesson is posture. You're shown how to sit, how to breathe, how to keep your shoulders loose, how to keep your belly soft, how to lower your chin slightly, and how to let your eyes rest in a calm, downward gaze. It sounds simple, but simple things become hard when you have to do them for hours. Your breathing must be quiet, steady even. You learn how to breathe lower in your body so your chest barely moves. When your chest doesn't move, people forget you are there. You look like part of the room. This is the first kind of invisibility. Next comes walking. Walking indoors is different from walking outside. Indoors, you walk on the balls of your feet first, not the heel. The heel makes noise. The ball of the foot gives you control. Then the heel touches the floor softly. Your weight shifts smoothly. Your body glides rather than steps. You practice for hours until the motion becomes natural. The teachers show you how to step on wooden floors by placing your feet over the beams beneath. The beams are quieter. The thinnest boards between them squeak or crack. You learn how to sense the floor through your toes. You practice without looking down. Your feet memorize everything. You walk across the room again and again while the older women watch in silence. When you're too loud, they shake their heads. When you do well, they do nothing. No praise, no reward. Praise creates pride. Pride causes mistakes. You learn to take silence as approval. After walking comes expression training. Your face becomes a tool. You learn to control small muscles around your eyes, eyebrows, mouth, and cheeks. You learn how to look kind without being inviting, how to look embarrassed without feeling anything, how to nod just enough to show humility, how to smile slightly as if acknowledging something pleasant, but not enough to encourage anyone to speak more. The older woman places a small bowl of water on the ground. You kneel and look into it. The reflection is warped and small. She tells you to smile. You do. She shakes her head. She taps 2 fingers against her cheek, showing you which muscles to relax. You try again. She nods. That's how you learn, slowly, simply through repetition. Then they give you clothing, not special clothing, just ordinary robes with hidden features. Some seams tear easily so you can slip free if grabbed. Some folds hide pockets for tools. You learn how to tie your sash in a way that looks sloppy but is strategically firm. You learn how to tuck small items inside sleeves without dropping them when you move. The teachers adjust your clothing constantly. They pull at the fabric to test how it sits. They show you how to let the robe fall in a way that hides your outline. They show you how to fold a sleeve so a tool inside doesn't show. Clothing becomes part of your disguise and part of your safety. Next comes household work. You sweep floors and wipe tables. You grind herbs and wash rice. You carry trays, fold cloth and serve tea. These chores are not chores. They are training for movement, posture, attention and observation. While you clean shelves, you learn to use your fingertips to feel dust patterns and find which parts of the shelf people touch most often. While you prepare tea, you learn how to mask the sound of cups on lacquered trays. While you hang laundry, you learn about cloth, knots, weight, and how fabric hides objects. Household work is the first test of your ability to gather information without being noticed. You learn who the teachers favour, who they trust, who they avoid, and who they watch closely. You learn the hierarchy of the building by how people walk and speak. You learn to listen to 2 conversations at once. You learn to imitate accents, tones, pauses, and polite phrases. You practice speaking softly. Longer sentences draw attention. Shorter answers are safer. You mimic the rhythm of the local speech so you sound like you belong. Then you begin stillness drills. You kneel for hours with your hands in your lap. The older women walk around you. They drop objects to see if you react. They speak loudly to see if your eyes shift. They push doors open quickly. If you flinch, they tap your shoulder. If you stay calm, they move on. Stillness teaches you to control your instincts, to pause before reacting, to notice without showing that you noticed. Without this skill, you would fail every mission later. Pain training begins quietly, nothing extreme, just small controlled discomfort to teach your mind not to panic. You hold cups of hot water until your hands tremble. You hold a posture until your muscles ache. You balance on narrow wooden beams. You carry buckets too large for your size. These small pains prepare you for real ones. Observation drills start as simple games. You walk through a room for 1 minute. Then the teacher asks you to list everything you saw. The number of mats, the position of cups, the direction of the broom, the shape of the shadows on the wall. You miss things at first. Everyone does. Over time, you miss less. You learn to check corners, doorways, windows, and beams without moving your head. You learn to keep your face calm while your mind scans. You learn to love details because details save your life. Then you practice being background. You sit in a room while teachers carry conversations. You make tea. You sweep. You fold cloth. You act like you belong there. They talk freely once they forget you. This is your goal: to be ignored, to be uninteresting, not invisible, just ordinary. Tools are introduced slowly: a comb that hides a spike, a needle that can pierce thick cloth, a cord strong enough to lift a latch, a fan with iron ribs, a pin shaped like an ornament, a powder packet sewn into a hem. You learn to hide tools until even you forget where they are. Then you learn breathing. Breathing for running, breathing for hiding, breathing for lying, breathing for pain, breathing for sleep, breathing for fear. Each breath becomes a tool. Every skill is taught at a slow pace. Every motion is repeated until your body stops thinking and simply does it. Patience shapes you more than any teacher. Nothing in this early training feels special or heroic. It feels like work. Hard, repetitive, unglamorous work. And yet these basic foundations become the reason you later survive missions other people would die during. Children who can sit still for hours become adults who can wait out danger. Children who learn to walk quietly become adults who pass through guarded halls unseen. Children who practice steady hands become adults who perform delicate tasks in the dark. Children who memorize rooms become adults who never get lost. This is how you become someone no one notices until it is too late for them to react. Training has no clear beginning or end. Days look almost the same. At dawn, you wake on your mat. The room is cold. Your breath forms a faint cloud. You fold your bedding neatly. You wash your face with cold water that makes your skin sting. You dress in simple clothes. You sweep your area. No one praises you for cleanliness. Cleanliness is expected. Breakfast is thin porridge. Some days it has vegetables, some days it doesn't. You eat what you're given. Hunger becomes familiar, not frightening. Hunger teaches you self-control. After breakfast, drills begin. The teachers walk into the courtyard. You follow. You bow. They order you into walking exercises. You walk in lines, forward, backward, in circles, across stones, across sand, across wooden planks. You learn how each surface feels under your feet. You learn how to adjust your steps without breaking rhythm. Then comes posture training again. You stand with your arms relaxed and your back straight. You adjust your weight so you balance evenly. You practice shifting your stance without showing the shift. You learn to keep your center low and stable. The teachers push your shoulder. You're expected not to fall. They push your hip. You correct without wobbling. They tap your foot. You move it gradually, not sharply. Then you kneel for long periods. Your legs burn. Your feet go numb. You stay still. You breathe evenly. If you sway, the teachers correct you. If you endure, they walk past you silently. Silence becomes the reward. After posture comes practical work. You wash pots, sweep floors and wipe tables. You pound rice, grind grain, chop wood, carry water. These chores build the real muscles used later in fieldwork. Forearms, lower back, legs, wrists. You practice carrying heavy buckets with steady steps. You practice stacking firewood quietly. You practice chopping vegetables with precision. Everything is a lesson. Nothing is casual. During work periods, teachers test your awareness. They drop objects. You must not flinch. They open doors suddenly. You must not react. They whisper your name. You must pretend you didn't hear. They ask questions mid-task. You must answer politely without losing rhythm. You learn how to multitask without tension. After midday meal, another simple bowl of rice or noodles, you begin disguise training. You learn how to tie your hair as a child, as a merchant, as a widow. You learn how to walk like someone from one province and speak like someone from another. You learn regional accents, common phrases, polite forms, and casual speech. You learn when to bow deeply, when to bow briefly, and when not to bow at all. You study the behavior of each social position and copy it until it becomes natural. A tea girl doesn't walk like a widow. A servant doesn't speak like a noblewoman. You learn to switch roles quickly. Then comes night training, walking in darkness, listening in darkness, sensing distance in darkness, silent movement across uneven ground, silent communication with taps, gestures, and looks. Fear is trained out of you little by little. Small discomfort is introduced regularly. Cold baths, heavy weights, holding awkward positions, balancing tasks. Not to harm you, to teach you to ignore discomfort when necessary. Every night you are exhausted. But exhaustion is part of shaping. Your mind becomes sharper even as your body becomes tired. You begin to understand that training is not about becoming strong or fast. It is about becoming reliable, someone who performs correctly under stress, fatigue, hunger, or danger. The world does not slow down for you. You must keep pace with it. You begin learning how to lie without speaking. You practice giving incomplete answers. You learn how to answer questions with questions. You learn how to seem less intelligent or less aware than you are. The teachers ask you simple questions. Where are you from? What work did your parents do? Are you good at sewing? Do you know anyone from the north? You practice giving harmless details that sound believable but reveal nothing important. You learn to use dialects, accents, and gestures that match your story. You learn to smile softly and act confused when needed. Not dramatic confusion, subtle confusion. Then come the memory drills. The teachers place 20 small objects on a table. You have 10 seconds to memorize them. Then they cover the table and ask you to list everything you saw. At first you list only half. After weeks you list almost all. Later you recall the order, colour, shape, and position. Memory becomes a muscle like any other. They show you a room for 1 minute. You must remember the layout, mats, shelves, items on shelves, windows, cracks in the wall, stains on the floor. Then comes fear conditioning. Not cruelty, not abuse, just controlled fear. You walk in darkness while someone follows silently. You listen for footsteps without looking back. You feel someone move behind you and practice keeping your breath steady. You learn to judge distance by sound alone. You train your mind to stay calm when your instincts scream to run. One night, the teachers stage a break-in drill. You're sitting alone in a dim room, writing simple characters on paper. Suddenly, the door slides open. A masked figure enters. Your task is not to fight. Your task is to remain seated, calm, and observant. You fail the first 2 times. Your hand shakes. You draw in a sharp breath. The teachers take note. On the 3rd try, you keep your face still even though your heart pounds. On the 5th try, your breathing doesn't change. On the 10th try, your heartbeat slows. You're learning how to turn fear into awareness instead of panic. Then comes escape training. You practice slipping out of holds without force. You practice pulling your wrist away by rotating at the right moment. You practice ducking under arms. You practice stepping backward into darkness. You practice losing a pursuer by turning corners at the right angles. Your instructors put you in controlled danger, so you learn to think while afraid. Pain management training follows. You're not punished to learn pain. You're taught how to treat it. Vinegar for wounds, salt water for cuts, cold water for swelling, herbs for infection, pressure for bleeding. You learn to stabilize injuries quickly and quietly. Finally, the first true deception test arrives. You are told to enter a room where the teachers argue loudly. You are told to act like a servant delivering tea. You must keep your expression neutral, your movements steady, and your ears open. You gather information while pretending not to hear. You learn exactly how much you can listen without being suspicious. You learn the tone people use when they think you are beneath them. You learn that most people reveal secrets unintentionally. You learn that silence is your greatest advantage. Every day, every drill, every chore, every repetition builds the person you will become. You were already shaped by childhood. Training reshapes you into something precise. Not a weapon, not shadow, just someone who knows how to survive, gather information, and disappear. Your body changes before anyone explains why it matters. One morning your hips feel different when you walk. Your chest aches under your robe. Your skin becomes more sensitive to cold cloth and warm hands. People's eyes start staying on you longer than they used to. You don't understand the attention at first. You only know that it feels different from before. The instructors notice before you do. They adjust your training immediately. Neutral posture stays the same, but now they teach you how to control what your body gives away without meaning to. You hand over your childhood without ceremony, not because you want to, but because the work demands it. The women who train you now are not the same ones from before. These ones specialize in reading men's behavior, women's behavior, social expectations, and the way small gestures can shift entire conversations. Your first lessons are simple. Don't lean forward too much. Don't step too close. Don't let your voice rise too high. Don't look away too fast. Don't hold eye contact too long. These details do not come naturally. You practice them as intentionally as footwork or posture. The instructors teach you how to smile with your eyes instead of your mouth. A mouth smile suggests interest. An eye smile suggests politeness. You practice both in a mirror until you understand the difference. Then they teach you the basics of proximity. If someone reaches for you, angle your shoulder so they touch your sleeve, not your skin. If someone steps too close, shift your backward foot toward the exit instead of leaning away. If someone touches your wrist, move your hand so they grab cloth instead. These adjustments seem tiny, but tiny adjustments save you from situations you do not want. Your cycle begins. No one celebrates it, and no one hides it. It becomes another part of your daily life. You learn to make cloth pads from old hemp soaked in lye, dried behind the stove and tied in place. They itch and smell faintly of smoke, but they keep your clothes clean. You learn to track your cycle on a piece of charcoal scratched under your water bucket. You learn which herbs soften the cramps and which cause you to bleed more. You learn to clean yourself quickly with vinegar and warm water so infections do not take root. Work does not pause for blood. You adapt. Then come the lessons that feel like another language. You learn how men behave when they believe they're being admired. You learn how men behave when they believe they're being judged. You learn how men behave when they think you are harmless. The instructors demonstrate by acting like men who are drunk, lonely, angry, insecure, or proud. They train you to respond with gestures that diffuse danger rather than provoke it. You learn the arithmetic of attention. A glance to the side means not now. A small blink means later, maybe. A lowered lash means I am no threat. A soft laugh means you're leading the conversation. None of these things reflect your real feelings. They are signals you send to keep the situation under your control. Weapons arrive disguised as hair ornaments. A hairpin looks decorative but slides out smoothly and has a tip sharp enough to pierce skin. Another hairpin has a flat edge for striking bone. A third has a hollow center that can hold powdered irritants. Your instructors teach you how to twist your wrist so the pin becomes a small dagger. You practice drawing it while half asleep, while shaking, while holding a tray, while kneeling. You practice until your fingers can find the pin without thinking. Your robe becomes a small armory. Inside your sleeves are loops that keep tools lying flat and silent. Inside your hem are pockets that hold powder packets. Inside your sash is a small strip of sharpened steel held between two layers of cloth. You learn how to move so none of these things rustle, bulge, or make your robe sit unnaturally. Next comes poison training. You start with 3 powders. Aconite slows the mouth and makes muscles weak. Datura dries the mouth and clouds thinking. Arsenic twists the stomach and drains strength. You do not take dangerous amounts. You taste training doses under supervision, just enough to recognize the sensations later. Aconite makes your lips feel cold and heavy. Datura makes your tongue thick and your thoughts slow. Arsenic tastes like metal and sends a cold wave through your belly. These experiences teach you the timing of each poison and how they affect the body. You learn to read symptoms like a clock. You practice how to hide powders on the inside rim of a cup, under your thumbnail, on the edge of a chopstick, inside a fold of cloth that brushes against a bowl before serving. You also learn how to unpoison a drink by turning the cup and wiping the rim unnoticed. Powder work is delicate. Too much creates panic. Too little wastes opportunity. You learn how much to use based on the target's size, mood, and level of drunkenness. You learn alcohol training too. You practice drinking without actually drinking much. You learn to tilt the cup so sake touches only your lips, not your throat. You learn to pretend to swallow while letting the liquid pool under your tongue so you can spit it out without making a sound. You learn to hydrate with water between cups so your mind stays clear even when someone else's does not. You practice vomiting quietly behind a screen and returning to the room as if nothing happened. Not because you enjoy it, because sometimes survival requires dignity to be sacrificed for breath. You learn that sake loosens secrets. The first cup brings complaints. The second cup brings memories. The third cup brings regrets. The fourth cup brings schedules. The fifth cup brings stupid bravery. You learn to steer conversations slowly toward useful subjects without appearing to pry. The instructors also teach you boundaries. Boundaries in this line of work must be planned carefully. You control distance with your shoulders, your feet, your sleeves, and your timing. You decide which touches happen and which do not. You structure every moment so you can escape without raising suspicion. Your robe knot becomes a tool. Tied loosely, it opens easily if grabbed. Tied tightly, it signals disinterest. Tied in a double knot, it means leave now. You learn to shape impressions, not promises. You learn to sell time, not your body. And if someone tries to cross a line, you learn how to blind them with a pinch of ash or pepper, or stun them with a sharp strike of your iron-ribbed fan, or cut their hand with the blade in your sleeve. These lessons make you uncomfortable at first. Later, they become routine. The instructors warn you about jealousy from other women. Women in kitchens or bathhouses often view girls like you with suspicion or resentment. You are taught how to diffuse envy with kindness, how to give small gifts, how to compliment clothes, how to apologize for things that are not your fault. Women control entire buildings. Winning their tolerance is more important than impressing a single man. Money management becomes part of your training too. You sew coins into hems so thieves cannot steal them easily. You hide emergency money under lamp oil because no one wants to reach into oil. You keep a few coins in your sleeve for bribes. You give small gifts to servants who can help you later. You pay bath attendants so they remember your face kindly. Money keeps you alive more reliably than strength. Every element of your changing body is turned into a strategy. Your quiet breath becomes a shield. Your soft steps become a path. Your relaxed face becomes a disguise. Your clothing becomes armor. Your smile becomes a lockpick. Your boundaries become walls. Your judgment becomes your real weapon. Puberty doesn't simply make you older. It makes you negotiable in ways you did not choose. Training teaches you how to turn that loss of control into something safer, something usable, something less dangerous than it would otherwise be. You are not taught to seduce. You are taught to manage risk. You are taught to stay alive. This part of training is not glamorous. It is practical. It is plain. It is necessary. And it leads directly into your first real field work, which begins with errands, kitchens, laundry rooms, bathhouses, and the dull parts of daily life that reveal everything important. Your name today is Kiku, not your real name, not even close, but it fits the role. Simple, soft, forgettable. You are a seamstress's helper. You are 17. You carry a small sewing basket that smells like camellia oil, starch, and old cloth. Your hair is tied in a plain knot. Your sleeves are rolled just enough to show you are working class, but not enough to draw attention. Your day's assignment is simple on paper. Deliver repaired uniforms to the castle gatehouse, observe who is stationed where, and memorize patterns, nothing more. No close contact, no seduction, no weapons unless absolutely necessary. The best missions are the ones where you simply walk, watch, and leave. You travel along the dusty road leading into the castle town. The bridge that crosses the moat shifts under your sandals like it is breathing. People bustle around you carrying baskets, shouting prices, herding children, washing vegetables, sweeping storefronts. You blend in easily. Your posture is humble but not fearful. Your steps are light but not suspiciously light. The town assaults your senses immediately. Fish sauce hits your nose first, sharp, salty, sour. Soy smoke hangs in the air like a heavy fog. The smell of latrines grips your throat without warning. You breathe through it carefully until the sensations fade. These smells anchor you. They remind you that you're not in danger yet. You're simply in a place that lives and breathes like any other. Your eyes stay soft and unfocused as you walk. You appear uninterested, but inside you're counting everything. You count the guard at the first corner who taps his spear butt on the ground every 30 heartbeats. You count the boy who runs past and kicks the same loose stone every time. You count the slow drip from the eaves of a bathhouse. You count the merchant who shouts prices in a voice that cracks every 5th syllable. You map the town by sound and rhythm more than sight. You find the seamstress shop exactly where the report said it would be. 3 alleys past the rice broker, marked with a faded charm for good luck. The charm is old and the rope holding it has frayed, meaning either the shop is poor or busy. Both are useful to you. You enter with a respectful bow. The mistress of the shop sits behind a low table, her eyes sharp but tired. She recognizes you, not your face but your role. She waves you in without speaking, which means she is the type who cares about productivity, not conversation. You place your basket beside her and begin working immediately. Needle and thread move swiftly through your fingers. You mend a tear along the seam of a guard's jacket. You fix a button. You strengthen a collar. Your hands work while your ears listen. You learn quickly which guards come here often, which ones neglect their uniforms, which ones work the gates, which ones stay inside. You smell the uniforms too, sweat, rain, lamp oil, and something faintly metallic from one jacket's sleeve that tells you the guard may have handled powder recently. But you do not act on this. Today is not a day for drama. Today is for mapping. The mistress tosses you 2 jackets and tells you to deliver them to the gatehouse. She gives you a rice ball as payment for the errand. You bow and accept. You walk toward the gatehouse slowly, eating the rice ball while keeping your eyes soft and your breathing steady. You measure your steps carefully. You look like a girl doing a simple task, nothing more. The gatehouse rises in front of you, stone thick beams, iron fittings. 2 archers stand above, one slouched and bored, the other alert and hungry-looking. Below them, 3 spear-carrying guards stand by the entrance. Their sandals look too new, meaning they are fresh conscripts. New soldiers are unpredictable. You keep distance. You deliver the uniforms with a soft voice and a polite bow. The guards tease you lightly about being small or being new. You respond with a shy laugh that makes you appear harmless. They relax. Their laughter tells you their patrol schedule is light today. Relaxed guards notice less. You observe while pretending to wait for acknowledgement. You notice a water bucket by the post. Dry handle, squeaky rope. You note 8 steps from the threshold to the bucket. You note a storage room door slightly ajar behind them, smelling of vinegar and mould. You note the guard with worn sandals rotates his weight from left foot to right every few minutes. Details pile quietly in your mind. You leave the gatehouse after a respectful bow. You walk toward the kitchens, humming a simple tune so the cook does not suspect anything. Kitchens are the heart of any compound. They know more schedules than guards do. The cook is a large man with hair turning white at the temples. His hands move quickly even when he is not in a hurry. You ask if he wants towels mended in exchange for scraps. He accepts. You sew while he talks. He talks about nothing important. Weather, his aching back, the cost of salt. But hidden inside that chatter are details you need. You learn that rice arrives daily around noon. Miso arrives every 4th day at the hour of the sheep. Charcoal arrives every 3rd night at the hour of the rooster. This is not gossip. This is a schedule, your real target today. You return to the seamstress and finish your work. A maid with sharp eyes tests you with questions. Who are you? Where is your family? Why are you here? Her tone is suspicious. You answer with a soft, shame-filled story about a sick aunt. You look down. You blush at the right moment. You let your shoulders droop. She relaxes. Vanity is a reliable tool. Late afternoon heat makes everything sticky. You take the uniforms back, stopping by the dye shop to catch reflections in the indigo vats. The vats show movement behind you like small mirrors. You see 2 officials arguing quietly at the end of the lane. One coughs every 30 seconds. You add that information to your mental ledger. When dusk comes, you head to the bathhouse where your dead drop location waits. You carry a towel, hum a work song, wash cloth loudly enough to appear busy, and hang one towel with its corner folded twice. That corner fold is code. Information delivered, safe to retrieve. No one else knows. You walk toward the tofu shop and find the pig cart waiting. The driver doesn't look at you. He never does. You climb into the back, bury yourself under straw that smells of ammonia and mud, and hold your breath as the cart bumps over stones. At the gate, the guards crack jokes with the driver. One spear pokes the straw pile. The tip scratches your arm lightly. You do not move. You let your body go limp like meat. Your heart hammers in your ribs. When the cart starts rolling again, you exhale slowly through your nose. 2 alleys later, you crawl out. You rinse your mouth with vinegar behind a shrine, spit into moss, and disappear into the side streets. You return home with aching shoulders, pig smell in your hair, and enough information to feed a handler's report for days. You eat a modest dinner. You sit in the dark, repeating every detail from memory. 8 steps from the gatehouse to the water bucket. 3 archers, 2 lazy, 1 alert. Charcoal delivery every third night at Rooster. A storage door that opens too easily. A guard who taps his spear handle rhythmically. A cook who buys gossip with hot towels. You whisper the details to the dark until you hear them clearly in your own voice. Then you sleep in short slices, waking between dreams, training your body to rest even when it doesn't feel safe. This was your first mission. It looked like a simple errand. But it was more than that. It proved you could move inside a fortified place and leave without being remembered. The clan will not send you into danger until you can do this without thinking. And after today, they know you are ready for more. They send you north under a borrowed name and a grey pilgrim's robe. The sleeves are plain. The hem is dusted with dirt from the last town to make your story believable. Your sandals press into the road's uneven stones. Fields stretch around you, wide, open, quiet. Scarecrows stand like tired workers. Crows argue overhead. The wind moves through tall grass like a whisper you can almost understand. People talk about Mochizuki Chiyome like she's a living rumour. Some say she drowned. Some say she founded a school. Some say she built a network of girls who move like shadows and speak like mirrors, reflecting whatever a situation wants to see. You don't know what's true. You only know that your clan trusts her system enough to send you here. Her compound looks ordinary from the outside. Too ordinary. The hedge around it is trimmed poorly on purpose. The gate leans slightly as if carpenters didn't care. The charm above the entrance has chipped paint. All of it is designed to blend into the background. You learn quickly that the most controlled places hide behind masks of neglect. Inside, everything is clean, not fancy, not decorative. Clean in a way that feels strict rather than peaceful. The courtyard is swept down to bare earth. A rope hangs from a beam with no bell attached. A row of sandals sits neatly by the wall. The air smells like starch, sweat, and bitter herbs. 8 girls kneel in a row on woven mats. Their sleeves cover their hands. They look straight ahead without moving their eyes. Some have blank expressions. Some have expressions so calm they feel like masks. All of them are studying you without seeming to move their heads. A senior woman approaches silently. Her footsteps make no sound on the dirt. She counts you with a quick glance, as if you are a tool being inspected. She takes your sandals, your name, and your right to ask questions. She gives you a new name, a rolled mat, a single bowl, and a schedule. The schedule does not mention sleep. It does not need to. Food is controlled. Days you succeed, you get a modest portion, rice, broth, pickled vegetables. Days you make mistakes, the rice is stretched thin. Sometimes you get only millet. Hunger becomes a teacher. Hunger sharpens your attention. Hunger keeps you alert. No lesson is ever wasted in this place. Training begins with dance. At first this confuses you. Dance feels soft, artistic, unnecessary. But the instructors explain nothing. They clap a rhythm and you follow. You learn balance before speed. You learn timing before motion. You learn how to place your feet so your weight flows gently from heel to ball without sound. You learn how to move a tray without spilling anything, even when turning sharply. Dance trains your posture without your noticing. Dance teaches you how to glide, how to pause, how to imitate grace even when your muscles ache. Dance conditions your breath, smooth, steady, controlled. Next comes song. You stand with the other girls and hold long notes while walking across creaking boards. The goal is simple. Keep your voice steady even when the floor distracts you. This trains your diaphragm to hide fear, pain, or exhaustion. It also teaches you how to speak with calm breath when your heart wants to sprint. After dance and song come etiquette lessons. You bow at the correct angle depending on class rank. You hold your sleeves properly when serving tea. You adjust your steps so your shadow falls where expected. You rise from kneeling without wobbling. You speak softly without sounding weak. These lessons are not about looking polite. They're about looking like you belong anywhere. Etiquette gives you access to rooms you normally would not enter. Etiquette helps you blend among people who trust appearances more than details. Eventually the polite mask cracks, and the real training shows. Codes hide in ordinary objects. A towel folded with a left-tucked corner means danger. A sash tied twice and pulled once means a drop is ready. A sleeve crease turned outward means your contact is compromised. You learn to sew secret pockets inside hems. You stitch with tiny invisible knots. You practice passing coded cloth down a row of girls without anyone noticing. Then come the swallowing drills. You receive a wafer-thin strip of oiled paper. It is coated with a bitter herbal mixture. You must place it on your tongue, swallow it smoothly, and then later bring it back up over a bucket of vinegar steam. You do this again and again until you can do it calmly. These drills prepare you for hiding or delivering small messages under extreme pressure. The vinegar opens your throat so you don't choke. The taste becomes familiar over time, though it never becomes pleasant. Roles rotate constantly. One day you dress in white sleeves like a shrine courier, walking slowly with lowered eyes. Another day you practice as a low-ranking entertainer, hands soft, steps precise, face expressive without revealing emotion. Another day you're a mourner, hooded, quiet, allowed near ledger boxes in temples because grief excuses wandering. Another day you're a house servant, busy, invisible, observing everything. Each role has its own way of standing, bowing, breathing, carrying trays, asking questions, and avoiding questions. You practice until switching between roles feels like changing shoes. Then come poison lessons. The instructor is an older woman with a voice that sounds like it has scraped against too many winters. She's patient, but strict. She lays out 3 dishes like a meal from a poor inn. A small smear of aconite paste, a tiny touch of datura, a dusting of arsenic on the edge of a bowl. You taste each under her supervision. Aconite numbs your lips. Datura dries your mouth until swallowing feels unnatural. Arsenic tastes metallic and makes your stomach twist. You learn to rinse with salt water immediately after. You learn to recognize the symptoms by sight, smell, and behavior in others. She paints poison in a thin layer on a fan and makes you hold it while she talks. By the 3rd story she tells, your fingertips tingle. She does not comfort you. She simply says, never touch anything with bare skin unless you know its story. Observation drills grow harsher. You walk across the compound with a tray of tea and must return using a different path without being seen. Instructors hide behind doors, screens, corners. If they catch even a glimpse of your sleeve, you start over. You map the compound by sound. A certain board creaks at a higher pitch. A certain screen has a rough edge. A certain corner smells damp. Your world becomes a collection of sensory cues. Discipline is not punishment. It is shaping. If you speak out of turn, you chop onions until your eyes sting for hours. If you miss a cue, you carry heavy buckets until your arms shake. If you gossip, the instructors ignore you completely for a day. No instructions, no acknowledgement. Silence is the worst punishment. Silence makes you feel invisible in the wrong way. Girls vanish without explanation. No ceremony, no farewell. One day, a mat is empty. The next day, the chore list is rearranged. The instructors never explain. You learn to accept this without letting it distract you. Emotion wastes energy. Emotion makes noise. But among yourselves you form quiet bonds. A girl with fox-like eyes braids your hair in a way that hides your sharpened pins. Another replaces your mint packet when you run low. You share tips about hiding bruises and avoiding suspicion. You trade small bits of comfort, warm stones, soft cloth, good herbs. This is sisterhood born not from affection, but from shared risk. Bonds like this are stronger than loyalty bought with coin. Then one day she appears, Mochizuki Chiyome. You see her first as a silhouette behind a paper screen. Her shape is slender, her hair pulled into a smooth knot. When she steps into view, her presence changes the air. She does not smile. She does not raise her voice. She only looks at your hands, not your face, not your posture. Your hands. She lifts a small blade, sets it on a table, and watches how your fingers hover above it. She nods once when you do not tremble. That nod stays with you for the rest of your life. It is not affection. It is acknowledgement. Graduation is not a ceremony. There are no drums, no lanterns, no feast. A bundle appears by your mat one morning. Your tools, your clothing, your new name. You place the bundle across your back, bow to the floor, and walk toward the gate. You cross the threshold not as a child, but as a worker, shaped by hands that did not waste time. You leave the compound with nothing but skill, caution, memory, and a face that means whatever someone else wants it to mean. Chiyome's house built you into someone who can move unnoticed through any space. Your real training begins now. The room sells privacy by the glow of a lamp. You buy that privacy with rules you set before anything begins. You decide the layout. You decide where you stand. You decide where the lamp sits. You decide which distance is safe. Nothing is left to chance. The lamp stays on the second notch, never the third. The second notch gives light but does not cast deep shadows where someone could hide emotion or intention. Shadows can lie. You need the truth tonight, or at least something close enough to it. You wear an indigo robe, plain enough to seem modest but well kept enough to look intentional. The fabric is soft to the touch, but thick enough to hide seams, pockets, and steel. The crane pattern on your fan is elegant but not extravagant. It draws attention without causing suspicion. Under the paint, the ribs are iron. Your preparation begins long before any man enters the room. You rinse your mouth with a salt mint mixture. You rub charcoal lightly along your gum line to remove bitterness. You dust rice powder under your jaw so your face reflects light evenly. You place a tiny dot of camellia oil on your wrist so you smell like kitchen work, not perfume. Your hairpins are arranged carefully. 3 are plain, 2 are sharpened, 1 has a hollow center filled with powdered irritant. Your sleeves hide powder packets. 1 contains fine ash that blinds for a moment. 1 contains mustard pepper powder that disables someone long enough to escape. 1 contains warm resin that can glue a shutter for several seconds. You do not expect to use these tools, but you never enter a room without them. The door slides open, he enters. He is already swollen with drink and self-importance. His steps are heavy, and his voice is loud enough to show off. He believes himself charming. He believes you're here to enjoy his company. You smile softly and offer a polite bow, giving him the face he wants to see. You pour the first cup small. You always pour the first small. He drinks it too quickly. Good. The faster he begins slipping, the easier the night becomes. You drink almost nothing. You tilt your cup so only the rim touches your lips, and when his eyes drift elsewhere, you let the liquid slide into the sleeve cloth resting in your palm. When he looks back, the cup is empty. You listen to his stories, not for content, for rhythm. You note how his voice lifts at certain memories, drops during others, shakes when discussing duties. These signals tell you where to push gently and where to avoid entirely. Seduction in your work is not about desire, it is about pacing and managing danger. You do not touch his skin. You let your sleeve brush lightly against his hand. You laugh softly and lean in just enough to make him feel wanted, but not enough that he gains permission to reach for you. Your fingers adjust his cup as if helping him, but you keep your back foot pointed toward the exit at all times. Tonight's mission is not assassination, it is information. You need his guard schedules. You need his knowledge of shift changes. You need his complaints about his superiors. You need his tendency to speak too much when he drinks. Your real weapon tonight is aconite. You have 3 grains hidden under your thumbnail. You practice placing them without looking. You practice touching a cup without leaving a mark. He laughs loudly at a joke he thinks he made. You smile and lift the cup gently. You run your finger along the rim as if cleaning a drop. The grains slide into place. He does not notice. He drinks. He talks. He grows louder. His tongue begins to slow. His eyes blink more heavily. You steer the conversation back to harmless topics, then into lightly sensitive ones, then into the information you need. You comment on how cold the northern gate feels at night. He agrees too quickly. He brags about the shift schedule. He lists names. He mentions a broken hinge. He complains about a superior officer who sleeps during patrol. You nod sympathetically, offering small noises of agreement. You adjust the lamp to dim the room slightly so he feels more comfortable talking. He moves closer. You angle your body away so he meets cloth instead of skin. You gently place your fan between you as if adjusting your posture. The fan becomes a polite barrier. You refill his cup, dose 2, he drinks again. His pride expands, his guard drops. He reaches, this time more directly. Your sleeve intercepts his hand. You act embarrassed, as if you are clumsy. You apologize softly. You lower your eyes. He relaxes, thinking he misread. That moment of uncertainty buys you space. The aconite continues working. His lips grow slack. His sentences wander. His mind drifts. But he remains awake and coherent enough to speak freely. This is the goal. Confusion, not collapse. You ask one more gentle question about patrol patterns, phrased as concern for his safety. He answers without hesitation. He even shares a detail you didn't expect. A side gate used by a supply runner who enters early at dawn. That detail alone may be worth an entire mission. He starts leaning too far in your direction. This is the dangerous part, not because of assault, but because his instinct to touch you might make him suspicious if he fails. You guide him toward the futon, not as invitation, as control. Gravity is your ally now. Seated, he's clumsy. Standing, he is unpredictable. When he sits, you pour him one final cup. You do not poison it. He is already near the edge of sleep. You only need him tired, not endangered. He asks if you will stay. You smile softly and shake your head. You offer an excuse involving chores or early rising. You place a gentle hand on his sleeve for one heartbeat, just long enough to seem sincere, not long enough to be held. He sighs, convinced of the story he created in his head. You stand. You adjust the lattice window slightly to allow air. You straighten the tray. You place the cups at polite angles. You return the lamp to the second notch. You leave nothing behind except his belief that the night went exactly the way he wanted. Once you exit the room, you wipe the edge of your sleeve with vinegar cloth. You cleanse your hands with powder. You remove your inner robe knot and retie it tightly. You rinse your mouth until no bitterness remains. You check your sleeves for tears. You oil your wrists where his robe brushed you. These steps are routine. The next day he yawns through his patrol. He misses a signal flag. He forgets to check a shutter. His mistake shifts the compound's entire rhythm by one small beat. That shift is enough to change the flow of information, enough to create opportunities for your clan. You do not witness any of this directly. You're already working somewhere else. But the mission is successful because you left with everything you needed and left him with nothing but confidence. Seduction in your line of work is not romance. It is negotiation. It is mathematics. It is risk management. It is a controlled performance in a room that could turn violent without warning. You sell time. You sell safety. You sell dreams he invents himself. You take what you came for. You leave without being remembered in a dangerous way. And when you walk out into the night, the cool air feels like a blessing. You breathe it in deeply, exhaling softly until your heart returns to its regular rhythm. Another assignment waits tomorrow. The first siege you work through doesn't feel like a battle. It feels like a slow tightening of the world. Roads grow empty, markets thin out, travellers move quickly with their heads down, rumours spread faster than messengers. People whisper about enemy banners and the smell of smoke drifting from far-off villages. You're sent in not as a warrior. You're sent in as an extra pair of hands in a household near the outer wall. Your job is simple. Carry water, help cook millet, wash cloth, pretend to worry like everyone else. Ordinary worry makes you blend in. Anyone who seems too calm is suspicious. When a siege begins, the first enemy is hunger. You learn how the town reacts, how fast food runs out, who hoards stores, who panics, who steals, who suddenly becomes generous for reasons that have nothing to do with kindness. You work in the kitchen of a mid-ranking household. The lady of the house chews her nails when she thinks no one is watching. The children cry more at night. The servants move slower in the mornings because they do not sleep well. These details matter. Sieges turn human behavior into patterns. Patterns become predictable. Predictable people are easier to navigate. Your daily routine changes. You wake before dawn because fresh water must be collected before soldiers block the well for their own use. You carry buckets quietly, memorizing which houses have shuttered windows and which have lanterns burning late into the night. At the well, women argue in sharp whispers about ration lines and soldiers cutting ahead. You listen while looking tired, not curious. You learn which guards take bribes, which ones drink too early in the day, which ones flirt with farmers' daughters, which ones complain about their commanders. You return home with enough information to fill a secret report, and you haven't even begun the actual task. Your first assignment is to confirm whether the enemy has tunneling operations underway. Digging creates vibrations and heat patterns under the soil, but no one will let a stranger wander near the walls. Your solution is simple. Laundry. You take wet cloth to the outer yards and hang them where soldiers are too tired to question you. The ground beneath your bare feet tells you everything. Loose soil, hollow patches, faint warmth rising through dirt where it shouldn't. You drop a wooden pin into one soft spot. It rattles as it falls. You keep a neutral expression, fold another cloth, and shift your weight to mask the sound. A soldier shouts at you for being in the way. You bow and hurry off like a frightened girl. Inside your sleeve is all the confirmation you need. Tunnels, north wall, depth shallow, work happening at dusk. Your second assignment is more delicate. You must pass a message to a clan contact trapped inside another part of the castle town. All the gates are blocked. Patrols sweep the alleys. Food shortages make people watch each other closely. You cannot simply walk across the town, so you become sick. Not truly sick, just convincing. You wrap your upper body tighter than normal to make your breathing shallow. You rub your eyes with smoke so they redden. You chew mint to mask your breath. You bend your posture into a slow, shaky walk. You head toward the communal bathhouse carrying a small bundle of dirty towels. Sick people are often avoided. Soldiers flinch away. Women glare but keep distance. You cough lightly as you pass them. At the bathhouse, steam fills the air. The floor is wet. Voices echo off the wooden walls. This place has no privacy, but it has chaos, and chaos gives you cover. You place one towel on the rack. Its corner is folded under twice. That fold is the message. Meet at the latrine behind the northern alley in 1 hour. You wash your hands, rinse your face, and leave. Next comes the truly dangerous part. Crossing open alleys where soldiers pace between buildings, fires burn in braziers to keep them alert. You time their routes by counting breaths. Every soldier's rhythm becomes a beat in your head. On your 10th breath, you slip across. On your 20th, you crouch behind a clay pot. On your 30th, you move again. You reach the latrine area. The smell is terrible. This is why the meeting point is safe. No soldier wants to linger here. Your contact arrives disguised as an old woman with a bucket of ashes. Her back is curved, her steps slow, her voice hoarse, but her eyes are sharp. She kneels beside you with a grunt, pretending to rest her knees. Without looking at you, she murmurs the information you need. Enemy scouts entered through a servant gate 2 nights ago. They bribed a groom. They have a map. They may sabotage the granary. She drops a handful of ashes into the pit. Inside the ashes is a thin rolled paper with a charcoal map. You take it without letting your fingers show movement. Then she coughs loudly, spits, and leaves. To anyone watching, she's just a tired woman with too many chores. You return home by a different route. You carry a bucket to disguise your movement. You stop twice to adjust your robe so it appears natural. You pass a group of children chasing each other despite the siege. Their laughter cuts through the tension for a moment, reminding everyone that life continues even when danger presses close. As days pass, the siege worsens. Smoke rises from the far fields. Drums echo faintly. More refugees cram into the town. Rice rationing becomes stricter. People barter old jewellery for millet. Men search for firewood near the walls even though it's forbidden. Fear settles over the town like a damp blanket. Your work becomes harder. With fewer distractions, people notice newcomers more easily. Soldiers watch with suspicion. Children cling to their mothers. Dogs grow restless, barking at unfamiliar scents. Every step you take must be calculated. Your next task is sabotage. The enemy tunnelers are close to breaking through. You must delay them, not by fighting, but by disrupting their timing. You gather soot, dry leaves, and a small amount of oil. At dusk, you volunteer to help clear debris near the outer yard. The soldiers don't care who does the work as long as it gets done. You slip the mixture into a crack near the wall, push it deep with a stick, then light it with a shard of smouldering kindling. The smoke that seeps out travels downward into the tunnel. The tunnelers panic. They abandon their tools and retreat, believing the soil is collapsing or the air's turned poisonous. It will buy the defenders 2 days. 2 days is enough for your clan to move. The defenders eventually push the attackers back. The siege lifts. People spill out into the streets. Vendors reopen with relief. Children run outside again. But you are already packing your bundle. You leave before anyone remembers your face. Your handler meets you 2 villages away. You recite the details: tunnel depth, tunnel temperature, soldier rhythms, kitchen gossip, water shortages, map routes, enemy bribery patterns, weak hinges, smuggler gates, greenery locations. He listens with a neutral face. When you finish, he only says, "Good work." Then he hands you travel papers and a new assignment. Sieges will follow you throughout your career. Each one teaches a different skill. How to move through mud quietly. How to carry fire in a pot without drawing eyes. How to slip messages into bags of barley. How to wait out starvation without losing focus. How to navigate panic, rumour, hope, and despair. War turns people into predictable patterns. Patterns turn into openings. Openings turn into missions, and you move on. The town continues. No one remembers the girl who carried laundry and spoke softly at the well. Your first kill is not dramatic. It is not cinematic. It does not feel like the stories people tell to make death sound meaningful. It feels like a task, a sequence of steps practiced so many times that the real moment feels smaller than the rehearsals. You're sent under a name that isn't yours and never will be. You're dressed as a night servant in a wealthy household where the master trusts silence more than loyalty. Silent servants do not ask questions. Silent servants do not raise alarms. Silent servants see everything. Your target is a mid-ranking officer sleeping in the East Wing. He's not particularly cruel, not particularly important, not particularly anything. But he carries letters for a superior whose ambitions threaten your clan. Removing him will destabilize the line of communication long enough to force a political reshuffling. Your task is not revenge, not justice, not judgment. It is logistics. The household sleeps early. Tatami mats creak softly under your feet as you move through hallways lit by a scattering of lanterns. Your breath stays shallow, not because of fear, but because shallow breath keeps your body quieter. Deep breath expands your ribs and shifts your robe. Shallow breath makes you small. You reach the officer's room. The sliding door has a loose frame. The right side lifts slightly if pulled the wrong way. You use the left. Your fingers are steady. You move slowly, letting the wood settle before continuing. Inside, the room is dim. One paper lantern flickers weakly, barely alive. The officer lies on a futon, one arm outside his blanket. His hand rests on his stomach. His mouth hangs open slightly. He snores with a sharp edge like a blade catching cloth. You watch his chest rise and fall. You count 3 cycles of breath, then 3 more, and then 3 again. You kneel beside him. Your knees make no sound on the tatami. You reach into your sleeve and remove a thin cord. The cord is made of twisted silk soaked in oil, soft to the touch, but strong enough to cut through flesh if pulled correctly. You loop it around his throat while he exhales. You tighten it as he inhales. You pull with quiet, steady pressure. This is the moment you learned for years. Not rage, not frenzy. Technique. He wakes half a breath too late. His eyes open wide, his hands fly to his neck, but your knees pin his arms. Your weight locks his hips. Your arms remain straight. Bent arms shake more. Straight arms do not tremble. His legs kick once, twice. His heels thud against the tatami. You adjust your grip so the movement doesn't loosen the cord. You keep your breathing slow. He tries to gasp, but the sound is trapped in the tightness of the silk. A minute passes, maybe less, maybe more. Time loses shape here. Eventually his muscles stop fighting. His eyes unfocus. His body softens. The cord stays tight until you are sure. When you let go, your hands shake only after you release the tension. The shaking is not fear. It is the body responding to pressure and strain. You breathe slowly to steady your pulse. You place the cord back into your sleeve. You adjust his blanket as if he shifted in his sleep. You close his jaw gently. You move his hand to rest on his chest. His face looks peaceful. This bothers you more than it should. You check the room, cup still upright, lantern burning evenly, documents undisturbed, nothing out of place. Then you step backward, sliding the door closed in silence. Your footsteps down the hall feel louder, even though they are not. Every sound feels like a drumbeat pulsing through your ribs. You drop 2 small powder packets into the kitchen ashpot, your dead drop signal. You leave the house the same way you came, walking at a pace that suggests nothing unusual. Outside, the night air feels cold and too clean. You breathe deeply for the first time in hours. The air tastes like pine and damp grass. You walk past a drunk man sleeping near a barrel. You pass 2 stray dogs arguing over scraps. You cross a bridge slick with night dew. Your heart still beats too fast. The world looks slightly sharper than usual. Your handler meets you at the back of a storehouse. He sees the tension in your jaw even though you try to hide it. He nods once. You hand him the cord. He inspects it briefly, then stows it away. "You did well," he says plainly, not warmly, not coldly, just factually. You do not feel triumph. You do not feel guilt. You feel still. This stillness scares you more than the act itself. But your handler sees this coming. He gives you something you did not expect. Space. For 2 days you do nothing but sweep courtyards, carry water, prepare tea, and sleep. No missions, no drills, no expectations. The clan knows that after a first kill, the body reacts before the mind does. Too much pressure too soon can unravel someone. On the 3rd day, training resumes as if nothing happened. Your next assassination is different. You're disguised as a travelling entertainer visiting a small estate where a corrupt official keeps 2 guards who rarely watch anything except their sake cups. The official collects taxes and lies about the totals. He pockets grain from farmers who barely survive winter. He forces gifts from widows. Removing him will help stabilize a region leaning toward revolt. You do not approach his room at night. That would be expected. Instead, you perform in the courtyard during early evening when guests gather outdoors. You carry a shamisen with a hollow chamber lined with tools. Your robe sleeves are loose, hiding thin metal strips. You sing 3 songs, one lively, one nostalgic, one quietly sad. Your voice draws the official closer. This is intentional. Officials like him feed on attention. They become predictable when they believe someone admires them. At the end of your performance, you offer a small cup of sake as thanks for his hospitality. The cup is dosed with powdered datura, not enough to kill, only enough to blur his memory and weaken his body. He drinks. You bow deeply and begin packing your instrument. The guests disperse. The guards laugh. No one watches him closely. Half an hour later, he stumbles into a side hall, dizzy and sweating. You appear behind him, supporting his weight as if helping him. You guide him to a quiet storage room. He mumbles something about your singing. You smile politely but do not answer. When he collapses onto a pile of old cloth, you kneel beside him and press a thin steel strip into the soft spot beneath his ear. He dies quietly. No struggle and no noise, no confusion. Datura slows the body enough to make the process clean. You leave the room and return to the courtyard. You hum a tune, you retie your robe, you lift your shamisen. You walk out the gate before anyone notices the stillness behind the storage door. Not all missions are this clean. Your 3rd kill is chaotic. A target flees when approached. A servant unexpectedly enters the hall. A lantern falls. Shadows shift. You strike quickly with a hairpin because you have no time for anything else. Blood sprays across your sleeve. You catch the servant's wrist and push her away before she can scream. Your hand covers her mouth. She trembles. She does not understand. She only knows to stay silent when your eyes warn her. You escape through a back window. Your robe tears. Your foot hits a stone too hard. You limp for 2 days. You wash the blood from your sleeve repeatedly, the faint stain never fully leaving. Some kills haunt you. Some kills harden you. Some kills simply happen. Your instructors told you long ago that the cleanest assassinations are the ones no one remembers, but they did not tell you that the messiest ones teach the most. You learn. Never trust a quiet hallway. Never rely on a single weapon. Never assume a locked door stays locked. Never step over a lantern. Never underestimate a frightened servant. Never let your robe drag behind you. Never let adrenaline decide your timing. Each kill becomes a lesson. Each lesson becomes a rule. Each rule becomes a survival instinct so fast and clean it feels like intuition. Assassination in your work is not violence. It is interruption. It is punctuation. It is removing a single piece from a board so the rest of the board shifts. And through all of it you learn the truth. The world rarely notices when someone disappears, but it always reacts to the space left behind. Your clan teaches you how to move through shadows, but they also teach you something far more exhausting: how to live in the open. The most valuable operatives are not the ones who hide behind masks. The most valuable operatives are the ones who live normal lives so convincingly that even they start to believe the performance. Marriage is one of the strongest covers in your world. It gives you a fixed address. It gives you a believable schedule. It gives you a reason to walk through town without questions. It gives you access to gossip that only married women hear. It gives you invisibility through routine. Your marriage is arranged by the clan. Not cruelly, practically. Your husband is a woodworker, quiet and diligent. He is not unkind. He is not forceful. He is simply tired from a life of lifting heavy lumber and balancing accounts. He assumes your softness is shyness. He assumes your quietness is modesty. These assumptions serve you well. Your wedding is modest. Rice wine, pickles, 2 neighbours, a lantern that flickers from wind sneaking through the shutters. You bow to each other. You share a cup. The world calls you wife now. The word tastes strange on your tongue. You learn his rhythms. He chews slowly. He hums when planing wood. He sighs after long days. He sleeps facing the wall. You match his rhythms like breathwork. You learn to wake before him, so he always believes you rise early because you are diligent, not because you have missions that begin before dawn. Your home is small. 2 rooms, 1 hearth, 1 cabinet, 1 stack of folded bedding. Simple homes hide secrets easily, because no one expects secrets in a place without wealth. You sew small pockets behind the cabinet. You hide coded cloth among the laundry. You slip reports into the hollow between 2 beams. No one searches a poor home with the same suspicion they give a rich one. Your husband teaches you how to choose the right wood for repairs. You already know how to assess materials, so you adapt quickly. You let him think he is teaching you. It makes him feel proud. You praise him softly and sincerely. None of this is deception. It is survival built on cooperation. The first time he touches your hand gently, you do not pull away. You do not push forward. You let the moment hang in a quiet, steady place where neither of you has to pretend more than you already do. Your life becomes a choreography. Hang laundry at dawn. This lets you observe who wakes early in the neighbourhood. Buy tofu at midday. Vendors gossip about soldiers and taxes. Fetch water in the evening. Most people loosen their tongues when tired. Light lanterns at dusk. Shadows cast through paper show silhouettes inside other homes. Each task gathers information without appearing intentional. People talk to you because you seem safe. Women complain about rationing. Merchants whisper about debt. Travellers share secrets after long journeys. Soldiers brag too loudly when drunk. These everyday scraps become important when stitched together. You continue missions at night. You move through alleys while the town sleeps. You return before dawn and slide under the bedding like someone who simply woke early to stoke the fire. Your husband never notices. Or perhaps he notices and chooses to ignore it. Both possibilities protect the illusion. Children enter your life differently. Your first child is not planned by you. It is simply what happens in a marriage where routine becomes comfort. You fear that pregnancy will pull you out of the clan's work, but the clan sees value in this stage too. A pregnant woman moves more slowly, but she becomes even more invisible. No guard suspects a woman carrying laundry or holding her belly as she climbs steps. Your pregnancy shifts your missions. Less range travel, more information gathering, more coded cloth deliveries, more reading expressions instead of sneaking through windows. You become even better at passive observation. People trust mothers. People confide in mothers. People underestimate mothers. People explain things to mothers they would never explain to other women. Your senses sharpen. You learn to read danger not with your body but through subtle cues, voices that tremble, eyes that flick to doors, shoulders held too high. Pregnancy teaches you a new form of awareness. You begin to anticipate danger before it arrives. Your son is born at home, in the dim warmth of a single lantern. You bite on a strip of cloth. Your husband holds your shoulders steady. A neighbour midwife guides the child into the world. The moment the baby cries, something inside you tightens. You have handled fear, pain, wounds, and death. But this new feeling, this instinct, terrifies you more than any enemy ever could. The clan prepared you for blades, not for this. Your missions shift again. You carry your child on your back while you walk through town. No one looks twice at a mother with a baby. You overhear everything. You study everyone. You slip coded threads into laundry lines and water buckets without bending suspiciously. You pass information while pretending to soothe a fussy child. Sometimes you must meet a contact behind the shrine. Your son sleeps on your shoulder, unaware that the woman speaking softly to you carries a message that might change the direction of a conflict. You nod gently, rocking your child to hide the exchange of a folded scrap of paper. Your daughter arrives 2 years later. Your body knows how to handle birth now, but your fear does not disappear. You keep both children fed, warm, and unafraid. You mend their clothes. You wrap them in cotton blankets. You teach them songs but not secrets. Your home becomes a balance of softness by day and strategy by night. Your marriage deepens in a quiet, steady way. Your husband never demands explanations. He never asks where you go. He never questions why you sometimes stare out the window with distant eyes. He never notices that your hands never tremble even when startled. Or perhaps he does notice, but understands instinctively that some questions burden more than they solve. You grow to appreciate him, not passionately, not dramatically, but sincerely, like appreciating a steady fire in winter, one that keeps you warm without asking why the logs are cut in a certain shape. Your double life becomes a third life when your son begins walking. You teach him to balance by placing small cloth bundles along the floor. You pretend it is a game. You place them in patterns that help you rehearse room layouts of distant compounds. As he wobbles across the room, giggling, you practice moving silently around him. He thinks you're playing. In truth, you're refining your foot placements for an upcoming assignment. Your daughter learns to grip your sleeve when she walks beside you to the well. You use her tug as a cue to pause, listen, observe, an excuse to stop moving without looking suspicious. Your children's movements become part of your disguise. Their presence makes you seem predictable. Predictability is the best cover you have ever been given. But double lives grow heavy. Some nights, after finishing a mission, you return home and hear your children breathing softly. The sound feels louder than anything you encountered outside. You sit beside them in the dark, staring at their small hands and wondering how long this balance will last. The clan does not own your heart, but it owns your skills, and your skills cannot simply vanish. Some mothers in your network retire, some do not, some disappear, some choose death over compromise, some raise children who never learn who their mothers really were. You do not know which future awaits you, but you do know how to survive one day at a time. You wake before dawn, you feed your children millet, you sweep the floor, you mend robes, you gather intelligence, you pass information, you arrange meetings, you run missions, you cook dinner, you put your children to sleep, you lie beside your husband and let the quiet fill the space between your breaths. Your double life is not glamorous, it is not dramatic, it is not the legend people tell. It is woven from small decisions, small deceptions, small routines that stretch across years, and as long as you keep living this way, softly by day, sharply by night, no one will ever suspect the truth behind your quiet home. The night you are betrayed is not loud. It does not start with shouting or weapons or a chase. It begins with something you've always trusted: routine. You move like you always do, slow, steady steps along a quiet path behind the greenery, hands tucked into your sleeves, breath even, heart calm. The moon is thin, the kind of moon that makes shadows long but dim. You know the route so well you could walk it blind. You arrive at the old storehouse where you expect to meet a messenger disguised as a charcoal seller. You knock twice on the side panel, pause, then knock once more, the agreed signal. Usually a cough follows, or the sound of charcoal shifting, or the door opening with a familiar creak. Tonight, nothing answers. You wait 3 breaths, then 5. Silence continues. This is your first warning. Your second warning comes when you notice the scent of fresh oil on the doorframe. Fresh oil means new hands. New hands never oil a warehouse door at night. You step back slowly. You keep your shoulders relaxed. Your posture must not betray the tension gathering under your ribs. You turn to leave, and that is when 3 men emerge from the darkness. You do not see their faces clearly. You see outlines, rough shapes of armor, the glint of metal. One of them moves too quickly to be a drunk guard. Another is too steady to be a wandering bandit. You're trapped before you can run. The first grabs your wrist, the second pins your other arm. The third covers your mouth with a cloth that smells like vinegar and bitter herbs. You twist your body, but not out of panic, out of calculation. You aim for the small moment where your heel can catch the edge of a crate. The crate tilts, and dried millet spills across the floor, scattering like hail. You hope the noise will alert someone. It does not. You try to kick one man's knee, but he anticipates it. These are not amateurs. They know how your kind fights. They know your angles, your likely escapes. They bind your hands with rough rope. You feel the fibers scrape your skin. They tie your ankles loose enough that you can walk but not run. You're not beaten. You're not shouted at. You're simply taken. That is the most frightening part. They lead you through side alleys. You count your steps even as your mind races. You memorize the tilt of the ground beneath your feet, the direction the night breeze touches your cheeks, the faint smell of river mud, the distant chanting from a shrine. Even now, even bound, your training continues working on its own. You are taken to a small storage shed. They place you on your knees. Your captors speak quietly to one another. You catch fragments. Another one? No, this one's different. She's older. Be careful with her hands. Search the sleeves. No hairpins. Check her mouth. They know your methods. One holds your jaw. Another presses a blunt stick against your molars to ensure you're not hiding poison packets. You resist the instinct to bite. Resistance now is useless. When they finish, they leave you alone. The shed is cold. The floor is hard-packed earth. A single lantern sits outside the door, casting long shadows through the slats. You feel your children's faces flash in your mind. A dangerous thought. Emotion will not free you. You breathe slowly. You calm your pulse. You count the grain lines in the wooden wall. You rehearse possible outcomes. When your captors return, they're accompanied by a man dressed unlike the others. His robe is clean. His hair is tied neatly. He carries authority in the way he stands. Not loud, not proud, but heavy, like a stone placed carefully on a scale. He sits across from you. Your name, he says. You answer with your false name. It does not matter if they know it is false. What matters is consistency. He studies your face for small signs of fear or lies. You give him none. Your voice stays soft. Your eyes remain calm. You keep your shoulders relaxed. Stress widens the eyes. Stress tightens the lips. You avoid both. He asks where you are going. You say you are returning home. He asks why you were at the granary. You say you were searching for a missing child's sandal. He asks who you expected to find there. You say no one. Your story must be simple. Complex lies unravel under pressure. Interrogation begins not with violence, but with silence. The man stares at you, waiting for you to speak more than necessary. You do not. You bow your head in embarrassment. You pretend to be ashamed of wandering late at night. You pretend to misunderstand his suspicion. Innocence is more believable than denial. He changes tactics. He asks about your husband. You answer honestly. There is no threat in truth about a simple man with calloused hands and a quiet voice. He asks about your children. You feel something tense inside you, but you keep your expression still. You mention their ages. You mention their favorite foods. You mention nothing that could harm them. He studies you. Then he asks a question that breaks your rhythm. Who taught you to move so quietly? You do not blink, you do not flinch, and you keep your breath steady. You say, working at night near children teaches soft steps. You say it softly, letting the truth blend with the lie. He leans closer. Your posture is too straight for a village woman, he says. Your breathing is too even for someone afraid. You lower your gaze and let your shoulders slump. A mask of fear is often more effective than courage. He circles you slowly. His steps are methodical. He picks up your sleeve and inspects the seams. Then he finds the stitching pattern, one used only in coded cloth signals. Your heart does not accelerate. Your face does not change. But inside you understand. Someone sold information. You knew the risk existed, but knowing does not soften the cut of betrayal. He kneels in front of you. You're not a common woman, he says. Tell me who you serve. You whisper, my family. He sighs as though disappointed. Then he stands and signals the guards. They bring water buckets, not for torture, not yet, but for exhaustion. They force you to stay awake. They question you in circles. They ask repetitive questions. They try to confuse your memory. They try to break your sense of time. They do not hit you, not at first. Pain makes people quiet. Confusion makes people speak. By dawn you are tired but not broken. Your voice is rough. Your eyes feel heavy. You know they are waiting for you to slip with a detail. You do not slip. When the questioning ends, they tie your hands to a beam overhead. Not painfully, but inconveniently. Just high enough that you cannot rest your arms. Just low enough that you can still breathe comfortably. This is a technique designed not to cause suffering but to prevent real rest. They plan to wear you down. You adapt. You shift your weight subtly every 30 breaths to prevent numbness. You control your breathing to slow your heart rate. You relax your shoulders so the rope bites less. You let your head hang to conserve strength. By midday they bring a tray of food, rice and bitter greens. You eat slowly. Hunger is a weakness long-term, not short-term. Food gives focus. You take every grain they offer. When night comes again, the interrogator returns. He sits. He watches you. He waits. Then he asks, "Who betrayed you?" You look up sharply. You cannot hide the slight change in your expression. That is what he wanted. "Someone did betray you." He studies your face, searching for a crack. You let your eyes fill with confusion, not recognition. You say, "I don't know what you mean." Your voice trembles, not from fear, but from fatigue. It sounds believable. His eyes narrow. He stands, frustrated but not triumphant. He leaves without another word. "You know this is your chance." The guard closest to you yawns loudly. Another leans against the wall. They are tired. They believe you are harmless. Exhaustion fuels arrogance. When the lantern dims, you act. You shift your weight to one side, swing your legs forward just enough to lift your body upward. The rope slackens. You twist your wrists, exhale sharply, and slip one hand free, because the rope was tied by someone who underestimated your experience. Your wrist bleeds slightly. You ignore it. You free your other hand and crouch low to the ground, listening carefully. You hear one guard snoring softly. The other hums a tune under his breath. His footsteps are slow and heavy. You time his steps. On his fourth step away from the door, you slip behind him. You cover his mouth with one hand and pull him back by the collar with the other. He collapses into you, unconscious from a pressure strike at the base of his skull. You lower him silently. You take his keys. You slip into the corridor. You count 10 steps to the end. You turn left. You avoid the loose board you felt earlier. Your feet move without sound. Your breath stays steady. Your mind stays sharp despite exhaustion. Outside, night air touches your skin like a blessing. You do not run. Running draws attention. You walk with the confidence of someone who belongs here. Once you reach the riverbank, you wash your wrists in cold water. You remove your outer robe. You hide it under stones. You take a fisherman's cloak drying nearby. No one questions a woman carrying nets in the early dawn. You become invisible again. You walk home with a steady pace, heart aching with the knowledge that someone inside your network betrayed you. But morning arrives, your children wake. Your husband stretches beside the fire. You fry millet cakes, you sweep the floor, you act normal. Because survival, in your world, has never been about defeating enemies. It has always been about outlasting time. Age does not arrive in a single moment. It appears slowly in small signs that pile quietly on top of each other. Your knees begin to complain first. They whisper during cold mornings, then they murmur when you kneel for too long, and eventually they grumble even when you rise from a simple sitting position. You pretend not to notice at first. You shift your posture, change your steps, and tighten your belt. You tell yourself it's just the weather. But age does not leave when ignored. You start waking up with stiffness in your fingers, especially on damp days. You massage your hands before you touch a kettle. You rub your joints with warm oil before you tie your obi. Tasks that were once automatic now require a small adjustment, a pause, a breath, a moment of focus. You learn very quickly that age does not weaken you at once. It introduces new rules. You cannot leap walls the same way you once did. You cannot crouch in one position for hours without consequence. You cannot run across roof tiles without feeling your lungs protest. But you adapt, just like you always have. Your work changes with your body. New missions come less often, replaced with smaller, quieter tasks, delivering coded messages disguised as laundry stains, watching the reactions of certain officials at the tea house, reading the mood of a room before a negotiation. You become valuable not for speed or stealth, but for experience. People begin to ask your advice. Younger women watch how you fold your apron, how you brush your hair so your pins remain hidden yet reachable, how you tilt your head during a conversation to appear attentive while observing the entire room. You become a teacher without intending to. One girl, barely 13, watches you with particular attention. She follows your movements closely, how you set your feet before stepping, how you let your breath flatten when someone walks behind you, how your eyes soften when you want someone to underestimate you. She asks if she can sit with you after work. You do not answer right away. You stir the rice porridge in the pot, listening to the sound of it simmering. Then you ask her, "Why do you want to learn?" She says, "Because people don't see me, and I want that to mean something." You almost smile. Almost. Invisible people can move anywhere. Invisible people survive the longest. You tell her to come back tomorrow. Teaching her reminds you of pains you forgot you carried. The first week her steps are too loud. You correct her by tapping her ankle lightly with a reed. She blushes with embarrassment, but tries again. Her second attempt is quieter. Not good, but better. You correct her breaths next. Young people breathe too high in their chests. You place a warm cloth over her ribs to make her aware of the rise and fall. Lower, you say. Your belly should rise, not your shoulders. She practices until her breath settles like yours. Quiet, steady, controlled. She learns fast, but she is impatient. She wants results now, confidence now, skill now. You remind her that patience has saved more lives than weapons. But she is young. She will learn. Teaching her gives your days structure. Between lessons, your body forces you to acknowledge its limits. Your eyes tire in low light. Your joints stiffen if you move too suddenly. You sleep in shorter sessions, half dreams, half vigilance. The pattern is familiar from your youth, but age changes the quality. Younger bodies recover quickly. Older bodies negotiate with pain like stubborn neighbours. You take longer routes now, not because they're safer, but because they allow you to avoid crowded alleys that test your balance. When you sweep the tea house floor, you pace yourself. You clean a corner, then straighten slowly, feeling each vertebra click into place. You rub your lower back when no one is looking. Despite this, you are not weak. You are efficient. You use less movement to produce the same results. You speak less to gather more information. You step less to cover more ground. You don't waste effort. Age has sharpened your judgment like a blade honed by years of friction. It is during this period that a message arrives disguised as a vendor's tally slip. The ink says only 3 things: Merchant, South Gate. Tomorrow, Hour of the Rooster. You study it for a full minute. You know enough to understand what is not written. This merchant has ties to someone important. Someone expects a report. Your age did not clear you from the ledger. You go. The South Gate is restless with morning traffic. Vendors setting up stalls, farmers pushing carts, townspeople sweeping steps. You take a seat near a miso stall and pretend to be examining dried fish. You watch for 2 things: who notices you and who avoids noticing you. At the hour of the rooster, a small cart rolls near the gate. A merchant steps down, a stout man with clean fingernails and a pleasant smile. He looks like someone who sells incense or lacquerware, not the kind of man who carries dangerous information. He stops near you and kneels to tie his sandal. His voice is low. "The one who betrayed you," he says quietly, "he was not caught." You do not look at him. He continues. He sells information to 3 sides now. Your name came up again. You press your thumb against the dried fish in your hand. You feel its brittle spine snap. The merchant straightens, dusts off his robe, and walks away without turning back. You breathe in the smell of miso and early morning dust. You breathe out slowly. You feel your pulse steady itself. Your hands do not shake. Your mind begins to calculate. Who benefits from betraying you twice? Who stands to profit? Who has access to both your name and your old roots? Your thoughts settle on one person. A former handler who once praised your work too quickly, too loudly. You always suspected he wanted favours only you could provide. You refused. You left early. You ended the professional relationship before he could claim any ownership over you. Men who want ownership often find revenge in small ways. You go home without altering your pace. That night you prepare your tools, not weapons, but items of daily life. A sewing needle, a small pot of starch glue, a piece of charcoal, a torn sleeve with deliberately frayed threads, a wooden ladle. These are not weapons, they are instruments of truth. You visit a bathhouse where officials often gather. You blend in as an older attendant who sweeps steam and carries towels. You do your job so flawlessly that no one looks twice. Your handler sits in the corner room drinking with 2 men whose laughter is too forced. He does not notice you. You kneel behind him, pretending to wipe the floor. You let your hand accidentally brush against the sleeve of his robe. Threads come away, because you prepared to take them. The robe's fabric tells you everything: imported silk, dyed with a colour too expensive for his pay, a gift from someone who wants him to look important, a gift from someone who pays him. His betrayal is confirmed. You do not confront him. Confrontation creates stories. Stories create witnesses. Witnesses create consequences. Instead, you watch quietly. You listen. You memorize. You return home. You sleep for 2 hours, then wake. You sew the threads you collected into a pattern that signals danger within. You deliver it to the network through the coded laundry route. By morning, your handler's assignments are suspended. His residence is searched. His status becomes uncertain. You do not know what happens after. You do not ask. You do not need to. When a network removes someone, it often does so silently. You continue teaching your young student. She grows sharper. Her steps become quieter. Her posture becomes a little too confident, so you correct her before she grows careless. You teach her how to read a room without staring. You show her how to fold a towel in a way that signals information without words. She asks you one evening, "How do you know when to stop doing this work?" You think about it. You think about your children, your husband, your body, your scars, your ledger of survival. You think about nights spent behind screens, in alleys, in rivers, on roofs. You think about how long you've been walking this thin line. Then you answer truthfully. You stop when the work stops choosing you. She looks confused, but she nods. She will understand later. Seasons pass. Your hair greys slowly. Your joints stiffen more. Your breath shortens in cold weather. But you are not useless. You are not fragile. You are simply changing roles. You shift from field work to oversight. You check the tension on knots tied by beginners. You test powder blends to ensure they behave correctly. You braid disguises into simple hairstyles. You correct errors before they evolve into danger. You become a quiet pillar of the network. No songs are written for you. No records describe your name. No students know your real past. But you keep them alive. One night, after a long week of watching the girl practice crawling under low beams, you sit outside and warm your hands over a small brazier. You listen to wind brushing through bamboo. You listen to the distant bark of a dog. You listen to your own breathing. For the first time in years, you allow yourself to relax. Your body, which has always been your most loyal tool, finally speaks honestly. It is time. And for the first time, you listen. You step away from active work. Not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually, like a shadow fading with the setting sun. Your student takes more missions. She moves confidently but not arrogantly. She carries the lessons you drilled into her bones. Your life shifts again. You stop being a ghost. You start becoming a neighbour, a widow who brews tea, a woman who gives simple advice, someone whose presence brings quiet, not suspicion. People call you kind. They do not know they are speaking to a survivor. They do not know your hands once held blades sharper than truth. They do not know your quietness hides history. You let them think what they want. Your evenings are spent tending to a small herb garden. Your mornings are spent sweeping your walkway. Your nights are spent listening to rain instead of danger. But somewhere deep inside, your instincts remain sharp. They always will. When a floorboard creaks wrong, your eyes still turn. When a stranger walks with purpose, your breath still lowers. When a dog barks in a certain rhythm, your mind still runs calculations. Old ghosts do not fully retire. They simply change shape. One night, as you sleep lightly on your mat, you feel a familiar presence. The young girl you trained, now grown to adulthood. She kneels by your doorway. She leaves a pouch of rice, a quiet thank you delivered without words. Inside the pouch is a small folded cloth with the old coded stitching pattern for safe. You smile without showing teeth. Your work ended years ago, but its echo remains alive in her. You inhale, exhale, and let the night continue without fear. Your student becomes your shadow in reverse. You used to walk ahead of her, letting her study your footsteps. Now you walk slowly while she moves ahead, checking corners, adjusting her posture, glancing back only to confirm that you are steady. You allow this not because you are fragile, but because it is time for her to feel the weight of protecting someone else. This is the real test of readiness, being responsible for another life. She carries it like someone carrying a bowl filled too high, but refusing to spill it. Her eyes track every passerby. Her fingers hover near her sleeves even when she is only carrying vegetables. She listens for threats that are not there. You know this vigilance well. You remember how it felt to be young and afraid of making the wrong choice. You place your hand on her shoulder one morning as she overcorrects her steps to avoid a loud tile. "You can relax," you say softly. She hesitates. "I don't want anything to happen to you." "Nothing will," you answer, "but living like this all the time will burn you from the inside." She doesn't understand yet. She will. You walk together to the tea house where you now spend your days. She blends into your routine as if she has always been part of it. Customers assume she's your niece or a neighbour helping out. They do not see the awareness in her eyes. They do not see the calculations behind her calm face. They do not recognize the work you planted and cultivated inside her. During slower hours, she sits with you behind the counter, pretending to sort tea leaves while actually listening to conversations drifting from the main room. You test her occasionally. "What did the man in the blue robe say?" "He complained about taxes," she answers. "He said the collector skimmed extra coin." "And the woman with the lacquered comb?" "She asked for news from the Northern Road. Her brother travels there." "And the guard near the doorway?" "He lied about being sick last week." His voice tenses on the second syllable when he lies. You nod without praising her. Praise is earned in the field, not here. She wants your approval, but you keep it hidden. Approval too soon breeds pride. Pride breeds mistakes. Mistakes breed funerals. You teach her quietly, steadily. One day, as dusk settles over the tea house, she asks you a question you've been expecting. When do you know you're ready to replace someone? You don't answer right away. You pour hot water over tea leaves. You let the steam rise between you like thin smoke. When you stop wanting to replace them, you say finally. She frowns. I don't understand. You will. You close the shop together and walk home through narrow alleys. The lantern light flickers across her face. She looks older tonight, not in age, but in awareness. The next morning you take her somewhere you've not gone in years. A small platform on the outskirts of town, partial roof, broken railing, overgrown grass pushing through old stones. You used to meet another operative here. Someone long gone now. The place has been abandoned, but only to untrained eyes. You see subtle signs of recent use. A footprint too light to belong to a farmer. A stone shifted slightly out of place. A twig snapped at a deliberate angle. Someone still uses this place. You sit on the platform and gesture for her to sit beside you. This, you say, is where I learned my last lesson, and where you will learn yours. She sits, hands folded in her lap. You can see she's waiting for something heavy. You point to the ground in front of you. Tell me everything you see. She scans the area. Someone has been here, she says, recently. What tells you that? The grass near the steps is flattened. The leaves aren't dried yet. Good. Continue. She studies the railing. A hand touched here. There's oil from skin on the wood. Good. She touches the platform edge lightly. A piece of cloth snagged here. Very small. Probably from someone moving quickly. You nod slowly. She is observant. She is careful. She is ready. But now you teach her the part nobody warned you about at her age. Look again, you say, and tell me what you feel. She hesitates. Her brow furrows. Feel? Yes. Not what your eyes tell you. What your bones tell you. She closes her eyes. The silence stretches. A bird calls in the distance. Leaves scrape against each other. Her eyes open slowly. It feels wrong, she says quietly, like someone left in a hurry. And why would they leave in a hurry? She swallows. Because they were being followed. You lean back on your hands. This place was once safe. When a safe place feels wrong, you leave it behind. She nods, processing this. Remember this, you say. A location is never safe. Only timing is. This is the lesson that will save her life one day. As you stand to leave, she looks at you with a seriousness she's never shown before. Are you preparing me because something is coming? You shake your head. No, I'm preparing you because something always comes. She lets out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. On the walk back, she stops you suddenly. Why did you choose me? She asks. You study her for a moment. She has grown into her role without even noticing. Her posture is quiet. Her presence is balanced. Her awareness is steady. I didn't choose you, you say. You stepped up. She looks confused. What do you mean? You were already replacing me the day you asked to learn. She blinks. But I wasn't ready then. No one is ready when they start. Everyone is ready when the work needs them. She stays silent after that, turning your words over in her mind. The next phase of her training begins quietly, without announcement. You start giving her orders the network sends to you. She delivers the messages. She reads rooms. She attends meetings. She evaluates people and risks. At first you accompany her, then slowly you stop. The network begins sending inquiries addressed to her, not to you. She pretends not to notice at first. You pretend not to notice either. This is how replacements happen. slowly, naturally, like dusk becoming night. One day, as you sit at home sewing a torn sleeve, she bursts in through the doorway with a breathless expression. "I was assigned my first solo task," she says. "You don't look up right away. You finish tying off your stitch, clip the thread cleanly, fold the sleeve neatly. Then you look at her." "Good," you say. She waits, expecting more. A blessing, a warning, something emotional, but you simply nod once. She bows deeply. "Thank you for teaching me." You shake your head. "I didn't teach you. I only showed you what you already had." Her eyes soften with gratitude she does not know how to express. She steps outside. You hear her walk down the path. Light steps, confident, controlled. You sit alone in your home after she leaves. The quiet settles around you like a blanket. For the first time in decades, you feel no weight on your shoulders. You have passed on everything worth passing on. You've given the world someone who will survive it. You breathe in, you breathe out. Your work is done. Your home grows quieter with each passing season. Your student handles the assignments now. Your hands no longer tie coded knots in hems or fold powder packets thin enough to hide under a nail. You still know how to do these things, but your body no longer asks you to. You live differently now, not fully retired, but gently removed from the river of danger you spent your life wading through. You do not leave the world. You step sideways from it into a narrow lane that only older people walk. The town begins to know you as the widow who brews good tea, the woman who hums when she sweeps, the neighbour who always remembers which child is allergic to plums. These small reputations protect you more than any disguise ever did. People trust what they see every day. People trust routine. People trust quiet. They do not question the quiet woman who offers ginger candies to children and bargains politely for sweet potatoes. This new version of you is not a performance. It is simply the final shape your life can rest in. But the world does not stop being sharp just because you have softened. One evening, as rain taps weakly at the roof and steam curls from your kettle, you feel the familiar prickling along your spine, the instinct you have never managed to silence. Someone is outside your door, someone who knows how to approach quietly. Not a neighbour, not a merchant, not a drunk guard stumbling home. Someone trained. You stand, smooth your robe, and open the door before the knock arrives. Your student stands there soaked with rain. Her hair clings to her cheeks. Her breath fogs in the evening air. But her eyes? Her eyes look older than they should at her age. Older than yours looked when you were her age. You do not ask what happened. You simply step aside and let her in. She kneels by the fire, warming her hands. You pour tea, knowing she will speak when she can. After a long moment, she says quietly, "They sent me to handle a traitor." Your chest tightens. You do not show it. She continues, "It was someone I knew, someone who once helped us." You nod slowly. You know this weight. You carried it too. She swallows hard. "I did what had to be done. But afterward, I couldn't breathe." You pour more tea. "You breathe now," you say simply. She lets out a weak laugh. Barely. Silence spreads between you like a cloth over a table. Comforting. Familiar. You allow her to exist in it without pushing. Eventually, she asks the question she really came for. "How did you live with this?" You stir the embers with your poker. Sparks drift upward, glowing briefly before fading. "I didn't live with it," you say. "I lived despite it." Her eyes glisten. She looks down at her hands. "Does it ever get easier?" "No," you answer, "but you get stronger." She nods, absorbing your words like warm broth. You place your hand over hers, a rare gesture. She stiffens, then relaxes. You feel her pulse through her skin, unsteady but surviving. Listen to me, you say. This work does not love you. It does not thank you. It does not remember you. So you must build a life outside of it, even a small one, even just tea in the evening and a soft pillow. She looks at you the way she once looked when she was 13 and you corrected her steps with a reed, wide-eyed, attentive, believing. I'll try, she whispers. Trying is enough, you say. She stays the night, sleeping lightly on a spare mat. You remain awake longer, staring at the dim line of moonlight across the floor. You remember nights just like this, years ago, when you were the one carrying unsteady breaths after a hard task. Morning arrives soft and blue. You prepare simple porridge. She eats quietly, then stands and bows deeply. Thank you, she says, not just for last night, for everything. You nod once, then she leaves, not quickly, not dramatically, but with the calm of someone who knows where she's going. As her footsteps fade, you feel something settle inside you, something final, not tragic, not heavy, just complete. You have given all the knowledge you needed to give. You have pushed the work one generation forward. Your role is finished, and so you begin the last phase of your life, disappearing by choice. Not dramatically, not with a staged death, not by fleeing into the mountains, just by slowly stepping out of people's memories. You visit the market less often. You close your tea house earlier. You sit longer by the small garden you keep behind your home. You spend more time mending old clothes no one wears anymore. Your world shrinks gently. Neighbours greet you with warm familiarity, never suspecting who you truly were. They see your grey hair, your bent posture, the way you rub your knees before standing. They assume you are nothing more than an old woman with a calm face and a tidy home. In a way they are correct. In another way they have no idea. You receive one last coded message one afternoon, slipped under your door by hands too careful to belong to a child. It is sewn into a scrap of cloth with a pattern only you and a few others still recognize. It says only, "You are released." You hold the cloth for a long time in your hands. It feels like both a blessing and an ending. Released from duty, released from obligation, released from the ledger of debts and risks. You burn the cloth in your brazier at dusk. The smoke rises into the sky, carrying the last thread of your old life with it. After that you fall into a slow, comfortable rhythm. You wake with the sun, you steep tea leaves until they unfurl. You mend things that no longer need mending. You watch people walk past your home. You tend to your herbs, you sleep early. Your hands no longer twitch toward hidden blades. Your breath no longer listens for unusual footsteps. Your mind no longer runs calculations in the dark. You've become someone different, not softer, not weaker, but peaceful. Years pass quietly. You age the way old paper ages, gently, with thin cracks around the edges, but still holding the stories within. Your student visits rarely, but when she does, she sits with you in silence, which is the greatest respect she can give. You can see the strength in her presence, the steadiness in her posture. She learned your lessons well. She teaches others now. She protects a network you once helped hold together. The day comes when you feel the shift inside your body, the same way you always sensed danger before it arrived, except this feeling is calm, like water settling after a long storm. Your breath is slower, your knees ache more, your hearing dims slightly, your hands tremble faintly even when warm. The change is not frightening, it is expected. You prepare your home without drama, you fold your bedding neatly. You put away the last of your herbs. You clean your teacup and place it upside down. You leave your door unlatched so the morning sun can enter freely. You lie down on your mat the same way you've done every night for decades. You stare at the ceiling beams you memorized long ago. You count them out of habit. You let your breathing settle into the slow rhythm of rest. You take one last breath in, and as you release it, you give your final lesson to no one in particular. Leave early. Your world dims like a lamp turned to its lowest notch. You do not fight it. You do not cling to anything. You do not fear what comes next. You simply let go. No statues will be raised for you. No scroll will record your name. No story will be told in the marketplace. But the network you kept alive will keep moving. The girl you trained will survive and train others. Your methods will continue in hands that never knew your face. And somewhere, in a quiet tea house or a dark alley or a distant safe house, a young operative will repeat a gesture or technique she never knew came from you. That is your legacy. Invisible, steady, enduring. You disappear exactly the way you lived, without leaving a trace. The story begins long before you were born, and it continues long after you die. But your chapter ends not with a dramatic flourish, not with a revelation shouted across a battlefield, not with a confession whispered to someone you loved. It ends the same way it began, quietly. Your student returns to your home a week after your passing. She does not arrive with urgency. She does not sprint through the gate or cry out your name. She walks the way you taught her, steady, present, aware of her surroundings, even in grief. The latch is undone. She steps inside. Your home looks almost untouched. The teacup on the shelf is clean. Your bedding is folded. The herbs are stored where they belong. The garden outside has been watered recently. She kneels beside your mat and bows deeply, forehead to the floor, breath shaking only once. She does not weep loudly. You taught her not to. She stays in the home for a long time before standing and looking round at the quiet space. Every corner of the room carries your presence. Every crack in the wood tells a story. Every tool has its place because you kept it so. She sits at your low table and touches the worn edge where your hand always rested during tea. Only then does she whisper, "Thank you." Outside, the town continues its usual morning noises. Vendors calling out prices, children running down the road, neighbours sweeping their steps. No one stops at your gate. No one asks where you have gone. No one imagined your life was anything more than the stillness you showed them. You're already fading from memory, but your student doesn't allow that to happen completely. Before leaving, she does one last thing. She opens the small wooden box you kept under your floorboards, not the one with tools, not the one with coins, but the one with the single strip of cloth marked with old coded patterns. She holds it in her hands, tracing the stitching. Then she adds one more symbol, one you never used, a small diagonal thread meaning gratitude. Then she returns the cloth to the box. This is her final offering to you. After she leaves, the seasons turn. Your home shifts with time. The roof tiles settle. The tatami mats dry and crack. Dust collects in corners. The town changes little by little. New vendors, new soldiers, children growing taller. Your name is no longer spoken. People remember you vaguely as the quiet widow who made good tea. Children remember your candies, but not your face. You dissolve into the town the same way shadows dissolve in sunlight. Far away in another safe house, your student teaches a younger girl how to fold cloth for coded messages. She shows her how to listen through walls, how to walk unnoticed, how to read danger in the air. Sometimes, without realizing, she uses one of your gestures, tilting her head a certain way when she analyzes someone's tone, or brushing crumbs from a table with a circular motion you perfected over decades. She does not mention your name, not because she's forgotten you, but because your name was never part of the teachings. The work is passed through gestures, skills, instincts, never through legacy. This is how you continue living, in movements, in habits, in small, wordless lessons. Years pass. A new woman becomes the one who stands in rooms silently assessing danger. Another becomes the one who carries messages stitched into her clothing. Another becomes the one who brings in young girls and trains them with patience and reed taps on their ankles. None of them know your name. None of them know your story. None of them know you ever existed. But they live because you lived. They survive because you survived. They breathe because you once breathed through danger long enough to pass the knowledge forward. Your student grows older too. She eventually finds herself standing in front of a girl with bright eyes who reminds her too much of herself. She sighs the same sigh you once sighed when you realized she was watching your every move. The cycle continues. One evening, decades later, long after the old networks have evolved into new ones, long after the wars shift into different shapes, long after the towns change names and borders, a young operative sits alone in a quiet room, studying a coded cloth she's just been given. Her mentor tells her, this pattern has been used for generations. She asks, who created it? The mentor pauses, then shrugs gently. No one remembers, but she is wrong. Someone remembers. Your student remembers your voice, your corrections, your steady hands. The network remembers your techniques, if not your name. The world remembers your influence, not your existence. And in the end, that is exactly what you lived for. Your story fades the way you wanted it to, like ripples in water, expanding outward until no one can tell where they began. You do not need a name to be remembered. You only needed to leave the world safer than you found it. And somewhere, in a dark alley or quiet home, a young girl practicing silent steps unknowingly walks in the path you carved. You are gone, but you are everywhere. You're forgotten, but you shaped everything. This is the final return to the beginning. You were always meant to be invisible. You were always meant to be a shadow. You were always meant to leave no trace. And you did. Your story ends exactly the way you lived. Quietly, patiently, and without ever being seen. If you enjoyed tonight's more detailed story, make sure you subscribe, leave a like and comment what topic you want to be covered next. As always, take care.